Live already?
I believe we are. We are. Oh. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, we are. All right, we are live. We are live, Travis. I knew it was going to kick in any second now. Welcome into Week 9 Waiver Wire. We're doing this show special live. We had a lot of fun last week when we did it live, so we said, why not jump on here again, do it live, bounce some ideas off of Whisper Nation. If you have questions about who you should drop it in the comments. We'd love to answer those, but we'll also be going over some waiver wire guys that you need to pick up this week to get you through the buys or just to further stack your team for league dominance, because we're coming up on the playoffs here, Travis. Only 4 more weeks of the regular season in most leagues anyway. How you feeling? We got to get them ready, right?
We're gearing up here, heading into Week 9 already. Week 8 is behind us. It ended last night, so you know how it goes in fantasy. It's the quick turnaround. We had the NFL trade line today, very quiet trade deadline. We had some rumors floating around there, but nothing really went through, at least of note. Yeah. And so we've got to talk a little bit about the waiver wire and talk about what you can do to get ready to make that playoff push.
So we'll be talking about these waiver wire pickups, but I gotta ask you because you talked about the rumors. I want to ask you. You were a Green Bay Packers fan. You are a Green Bay Packers fan. There were a lot of rumors that Will Fuller was going to go to the Packers. There was a lot of tweets and exchanges. How do you feel right now? Are you on the side that you're like, why didn't we go get him? Are you frustrated with the Packers organization? Or you're like, no, it was too much. We don't need him. Are you on that side?
It's a little bit of conflicting. I would love to have another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, but I really, at the end of the day, I don't believe that's our problem. We can't stop the run. We haven't been able to stop the run in a few years. We let guys like Blake Martinez go, who was tackling everybody over in New York, and so there's other issues that the Packers have other than wide receiver. Now, they're going to get Allen Lazard back. I think that they weren't willing to give up anything more than a third-round pick, which is part of the reason why we didn't get Fuller. And it's not like Fuller's had the cleanest bill of health either. So it's not like we were trading for a guy that, hasn't been injury-prone. So I could understand the trepidation by the Packers to not go get him, but would have been nice to see what he could have done with Rodgers, for sure.
For sure. All right, we are going to dive into these waiver wire pickups here. We're going to start with the running back position, Travis. And once again, we want to start off by saying the running backs that we are talking about today are less than 50% rostered on Yahoo leagues. Some names that you might not hear in this podcast or on this show, but you might want to look at your waivers because they're over 50%, but maybe available in your league. Justin Herbert, Travis Fulgham, Joe Burrow, Brandon Ayuk, Philip Lindsay, Robert Tonyan, J.K. Dobbins, and Zach Moss. All those guys are above 50% rostered, but if they are available in your league, they become the number one waiver wire option for you this week. Let's also remember teams on a bye this week: Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Rams, and the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, Travis, the number one running back you've got here on your waiver wire article that you can also read in depth if you want to at thefantasywhispers.com. We'll also leave a link in the description below to it. Is running back Damien Harris for the New England Patriots. He's only rostered on 40% of Yahoo leagues. But you like what you've seen. He's put together a couple of 100-yard rushing games, and they've dabbled with him in the passing game. What do you like about Damien Harris moving forward, and why? And what should people be looking to do? Should they spend a top waiver wire pick on him, or is it more of a speculation?
Yeah, so I kind of like Damien Harris only because of the guys we're going to talk about today. He has the best chance to get you there the rest of the season. Okay, he's going to have the best chance to have staying power. And so I think there's going to be a lot of guys that we'll talk about or that you can read about in the article, like, a DJ Dallas or somebody else that could be available. That's kind of a rental. I refuse to write about DJ Dallas this week because I actually don't know if Travis Homer, Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde will be back. And I continue to write about Seattle backs that end up not being the guy the next week. So I left DJ Dallas off the article. Went with a guy like Damien Harris at the top here. 10 or more carries in 3 of his 4 games that he's played this year. Just had the 100-yard effort. Going to face the Jets with all the injuries and the inadequacy of that passing attack. I have a feeling Bill Belichick's going to just start running the ball as much as he can to get this team to try and win a game. And I think that's going to start with Damien Harris, especially here. They're 7-point favorites on Monday night against the Jets. So spot start will be really good for Harris. And if he's been dropped, he's worth the stash here in most leagues.
All right, the second running back you've got listed here is we mentioned J.K. Dobbins was in above the 50% threshold, but Gus Edwards somehow is only rostered in 30% of Yahoo leagues. Needs to be picked up. Should have been picked up last week, but if he is available, what do you like about him versus J.K. Dobbins?
I actually would love J.K. Dobbins a whole lot more. He would be the top ad for me this week, but he's rostered in about 70% of leagues, so you're not going to get J.K. Dobbins. But if you look at Gus Bus, he's had about 30 carries over his last 2 games. You've got Ingram nursing that ankle. They're talking maybe a high ankle sprain now, so it could be this next week. It could be multiple weeks there. And I think Gus is just a guy that is going to get work as the pure rusher here. And so I think that gives him, a good chance to be not only picked up, but started to get you a nice floor each and every week. If you're in need of an RB3, RB2 floor, Gus Edwards in this kind of climate is worth the ad.
All right.
Did want to give a big thank you to everybody watching right here in the chat real quick, Johnny. We got X Miles, Samuel Rojas, Inceptivus, and Walker Bass. We're going to get to you guys' questions. We're just going to roll through some more of these players here that we're working on the waivers. So hang tight with us and hit us with a like if you can. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. That would help us grow the channel there.
Appreciate that. All right, the next running back you've got listed here is he doesn't have a game this next coming week, but due to Daryl Henderson going out with a thigh injury, we do not know the severity of it as of recording this and streaming live with you. We do not know how long he could be out. But Cam Akers came in after he went out and looked pretty good. Had a very nice it looked like Madden, like he was playing Madden out there on a pass play. Had 2 jukes. It was quite nice for a 19-yard gain. Travis, you like Cam Akers moving forward if Daryl Henderson can't go?
Yeah, I do like Cam Akers, and this is just based off of pure upside alone. That's why he made it to number 3 on the list here. The draft pedigree, his particular skill set. He's flashed some real nice juice for this offense. So if Henderson is able to, or is going to miss some time, you look at Cam Akers as being a guy with some real big upside in that offense. This is a run-heavy offense. So.
All right, Travis, I don't mean to. Okay, we have breaking news right now. This is wild. Okay, so there is a report that Myles Gaskins, Miami running back, who I was sure was going to be a league winner for you, and I put that in a video last week, is out now for 3 games with an MCL sprain. So we got a couple questions here. Presence Gaming, what Dolphins running back do I pick up? Now it makes sense as to why they traded for Washington today. I was kind of scratching my head when that, injury or that trade came through, but now you've got Jordan Howard there. You've got Matt Breida. Where would you go here? I know this is kind of like.
I would go as the second one. I would go Matt Breida. I think Matt Breida has the most upside here. Howard, obviously, and we could see what happened at the beginning of this year, where it's Breida between the 20s, and then they put in Jordan Howard. They start making him an active for each week. But I like Breida's skill set. He can catch passes. He can get in between the tackles. So I like Breida to have the most upside of those two.
And definitely with a matchup against the Arizona Cardinals this weekend, who they give up a lot to on the ground, that's a good ad there. I would agree with that. I do want to touch on we have a full list of, I don't know, you give 8 to 10 running backs here, Travis, that you have written about. If you want the full breakdown of these, you could do so. You can find this full article on I almost said on WhisperNation.com, on thefantasywhisperers.com. There will be a link in the description below. But there are a couple names I do want to touch on because they've come really big news as of late. So Jordan Wilkins He seemed to come in and do quite a good job yesterday's game. And then we find out afterwards that Jonathan Taylor is dealing with an ankle injury, which was kind of interesting because he still played after the quote-unquote injury happened. So Jordan Wilkins, how interested are you with him, moving forward?
So I would put Wilkins as one of the bottom guys that I talked about here, and mostly because I think he's a mirage. Because I do think Taylor will eventually get going here. I don't think every game is going to be like this. They still were giving Taylor some red zone looks. Jordan Wilkins, who got the bulk of the carries, got the 20 carries, and really made you feel really pissed you off if you were a Jonathan Taylor owner. But
Yeah.
I think he's worth adding as a direct handcuff for Taylor owners. I definitely think that's a good ad, and I think he's got some upside.
All right, and then the other one and we also had a comment on this as well earlier in the show by, let's see, who was it? X Miles. Who should I pick up of the two bench Packers running backs? So Dexter Williams and Tyler Irvine. News came out today that we had AJ Dillon was in close proximity.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
Yeah, AJ Dillon was tested positive for COVID. You've got obviously Aaron Jones out with the calf injury. They're pessimistic that he'll return. And then Jamal Williams was put on the COVID list because he's close proximity with AJ Dillon. So you're going to look at a combination of Dexter Williams and Tyler Irvin. And of those two, X Miles, you're asking, I would take Tyler Irvin. He's in a converted wide receiver. He's shown some flash. They move him on the jet sweeps once in a while. I think he's got the most upside. Dexter Williams has a little bit of juice, but is mostly a between the tackles guy. So if you get a guy like Tyler Irvin in there to catch passes, that's going to give you a little bit more upside.
We also saw him. We will have a full Thursday night breakdown video that will come out tomorrow. So make sure you look for that, like and subscribe to our channel so you get notified when that video drops. But we'll be doing a full breakdown of this Green Bay Packers versus San Francisco game. And I would second with Irvine and or Irvin. Is it Irvin or Irvine?
Irvin.
Irvin. I would second that and say that he also was very efficient in the passing game, and it looked to be like he has the trust of Aaron Rodgers in that. And you're looking at Devante Adams being pretty much the only reliable pass catcher against a stout San Francisco team, and so I actually really like him as a sneaky play here. All right, we have a bunch of questions rolling in here, Travis. So before we jump over to the wide receivers and go through some of the waiver wires ads there, I want to jump into these questions. Let's see, where do we want to start here? Samuel Rojas says,
you just mentioned Blake Martinez had a great game last night. Okay. Definitely don't like seeing him leave the Packers. Inceptivus 1 says, should I start AB or Devante Parker this week? I'd roll AB out there. I think AB is worth the start. We're still trying to see what Tua can do with this passing attack. And we know Parker got that touchdown, but that was his only catch, I believe.
And a couple other things. AB is familiar with the playbook because he played under Bruce Arians, so he has familiarity with it. Obviously, he has familiarity with Tom Brady. And then we also saw how much Tom Brady struggled, or I should say the wide receivers struggled last night on the Monday night game. So I expect AB to have a pretty solid game this week. I don't mind starting him this week.
So we got Walker Bass saying, my team is pretty set other than my wide receiver second option. I have Crowder, Shark, Green, and now Antonio Brown. All good, but none I'm too confident. Should I try to trade some of them as a 2-for-1? I mean, if you can get a 2-for-1 for a guy you're a little bit more confident in, but I do like the Antonio Brown ad. I think that's going to be nice for you. And you could actually see a world where Crowder gets a little bit healthier down the stretch and actually produces. So I do like AB, though. What Dolphins running back should I pick up President's game? And we answered that one. Nanto Hits also mentioning Myles Gaskin being out. Harry Oranges start 2 in week 9. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Chase Claypool, Corey Davis, or Sterling Shepard. I like Corey Davis.
I think I'm going to go Chase Claypool against Dallas.
I think I like those two as well.
Yeah. But check back
Samuel
in.
Rojas.
But check back in with
Yeah.
us Sunday morning. We'll go live 90 minutes before kickoff, and we can give you a more updated and accurate answer to that if anything changes throughout the week.
Yeah, if you guys are asking the lineup questions already, remember we've got a lot of things, practice reports that still have to be worked out. Defensive players could be injured. That
COVID,
we're making a
never
difference.
know when
COVID, all
that's
that.
up.
Yeah, so make sure you're checking back with us. These are just knee-jerk reactions here. Samuel Rojas says, what kind of package would be worth letting go of D-Hop? I was offered Diggs and Fournette. I need depth at running back after many injuries, but this is tough. Cook is my primary back. It's tough to – I think Fournette is a guy you want to invest in, but Hopkins' market share is so nice right now. It's hard to let go of. But Diggs hasn't been bad either. So
yeah, I actually wouldn't mind doing this trade. I do agree with the Fournette. It's going to be a little bit frustrating. We could have seen a changing of the guard more so because you saw Ronald Jones mess up again, and so that kind of seemed to be the tilt. But this is my fear, is that we could be dealing with this every single week. You don't know, if BA has a short memory, and I mean, if it continues to happen, obviously that's not going to, but it seems like they do like what they see in Ronald Jones. They like the flashes they see in him, but when you mess up and you've got a backup like Fournette, it's an easy move. So, but I do think Fournette still would have the goal line work moving forward. So I actually do think if you need running back help, this isn't a bad trade at all.
We got 12 watching, 4 likes. Can we get those likes up, please? It would help us a great deal. Get those likes up. Those are rookie numbers, as we like to say. Shelton Mayfield, I have Galladay. I need a fill-in. Should I drop Marquise Brown for Mike Williams or Corey Davis? Love the Mike Williams pickup. I wrote about Corey Davis this week. I don't know if I drop Marquise Brown just yet. If you have another option to kind of wait on Marquise, I think he could have a good second half, especially he's starting to be the squeaky wheel a little bit, and we know that sometimes that means targets should be headed your way. I would not give up on Marquise Brown just yet, but Mike Williams has been doing some nice things with Herbert, so he's definitely worth a pickup. Elias Griftopoulos. Do you think Aaron Jones will play? He is limited today. I'm a little nervous. Yeah, I'd be nervous too. It sounds like Green Bay is not going to be able to get him going this week, so probably going to be another week at least for him. All right. So with that, I think we should. One more. Devante Parker, Deontay Johnson. I would roll out Deontay Johnson against Dallas. I think that's the better matchup.
For sure.
All right, let's
segueing into wide receivers. There's a perfect segue there.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into some of these wide receivers you've got. Number 1 on your list here is Marvin Jones, Detroit Lions wide receiver rostered in only 49% of Yahoo leagues. He had a big game last week. But the bigger part of this whole puzzle, we might change our tune if it was just a big game and everything was all hunky dory there in Detroit, but it's not, because we had found out that Kenny G suffered a hip injury and he will be out this week at least. And so now Marvin Jones, he did see an increase in targets once Kenny G went out of the lineup. And, more importantly, the TJ Hawkinson was killed on targets after that. But we're talking wide receivers here. So Marvin Jones, Travis, how much do you like him rest of season? Is he more of a play for now and get you through bye weeks? Where you like him?
He's my top wide receiver this week. That's because a lot of wide receivers are already pretty much scooped up. But 98% of the snaps last week, that was his highest snap share. 7 targets, only caught 3 of them, but got 2 touchdowns. That's the key here, is that Galladay was giving us consistent scoring and yardage trading off. And you're going to see Marvin Jones not only get this start next week, which you could pick him up right off the waiver wire, start him this week against Minnesota, who is one of the top, surrendering wide receiver defenses there is. This is a defense he scored multiple touchdowns on in the past. And I think with Galladay out, he can see anywhere from 7 to 10 targets. And Marvin Jones targets tend to be a lot more valuable. So I really like Marvin Jones this week. He's my top wide receiver waiver ad.
All right, number 2, we touched on him a little bit in the question before. We have he returned off of the COVID list, and he's had back-to-back pretty solid games. Travis, Corey Davis, Tennessee Titans wide receiver rostered on only 48% of Yahoo leagues. But he seems to him and Tannehill continue to see that rapport, and it looks after one game. Now this is just one game, but it looks to be as if Tannehill is more of like a wide receiver guy, and it's Jonah Smith who's seeing a lack in targets as a result. But Travis, Corey Davis, how do you like him rest of season? Once again, kind of same thing. Do you like to Marvin Jones? Is this a 1 week, bye week fill in? Do you like him rest of season as maybe the as the Devante Parker of this season potentially?
Yeah, there was tough for me to write a little bit about Corey Davis this week. I mean, it's not tough when you look at the numbers. The last 2 weeks he's had 20 targets, 20 targets, 14 catches, over 150 yards in 2 contests, 2 touchdowns, back-to-back games with a touchdown there. So really good numbers, especially in PPR. You're loving it. But the schedule coming up, Chicago, Indy, Baltimore, then Indy again, those are some tough secondaries. And so it really scares me a little bit unless you looked at it where maybe the attention will be towards A.J. Brown, and Corey Davis could kind of get the secondary attention in those secondaries. So there is some hope and optimism there you can have for Corey Davis. And I like what you said there about him maybe being the secondary option for Tennessee over Jonah Smith, because as we've seen him rise in target share, we've seen Jonah Smith dip. And I think that is either a good sign for Corey Davis or a bad sign for both he and Jonah Smith, that they're going to trade off weeks as secondary options. And so I would just take your bet on Corey Davis. I think of some of the other guys that are available out there, he's one of the better options just based on 20 targets in the last 2 weeks alone.
All right, we will jump into Mikkel Hardman. We saw him get an increase in snaps. He is only rostered on 30% of Yahoo leagues. He did score the long touchdown. That was pretty fun to watch. But he does not play the New York Jets every single week, unfortunately. Do you think that continues? He continues to build on his success that he saw last week moving forward?
Mikkel Hardman becomes one of my favorite stashes. I mean, he has been all year. This is just a game that is within his range of outcomes, but he also has a very low floor because of all the weapons with Kansas City. The big deal for Mikkel Hardman, if you are a contender looking to stack your team for the playoffs, listen to these 3 teams that he plays in the playoffs: Miami, New Orleans, and Atlanta. I mean, that's a supreme set of teams that he gets to play. Should anything happen to Tyreek Hill or Kelsey, any of these guys within their pass catchers, even the running game, should it falter a little bit, you're looking at Mikkel Hardman getting a huge uptick in snaps and in targets. And so, yes, it's not bankable that he's going to get these 9 targets every week, but this is the ceiling that he has every week playing with Pat Mahomes.
All right, we will we'll answer some of these questions, and then we'll jump into the tight ends and give a couple tight ends and then a quarterback that you would stream for this week. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off here? Oh, Daniel.
Yeah, exactly, Daniel.
Okay. No worries, man. He said, wow, sorry for being late to the stream. No problem, man. We don't have a specific time you got to be here. And just anytime we go live, you want to just join in. Love having you guys. Loving chatting with Whisper Nation.
Yeah, we got 18 of Whisper Nation in here. Only 6 likes. If we get those likes up, it helps us boost the video. We keep putting out this content for you guys. Appreciate you guys stopping in here. This is our waiver show. We usually just do this one recorded, but we wanted to come live to you, mix in some waiver advice, and answer some questions. So Shelton Mayfield, I can only have 4 wide receivers: Kenny Golladay, Stephon Diggs, Marquise Brown, and Deontay Johnson. So yeah, this was him asking to drop Marquise for Mike Williams. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't mind it with the wide receivers you have. You might as well try and get some more players there. Good thing you have those wide receivers. You're not going to drop Kenny G, obviously, and Marquise has been a disappointment. So I don't mind that drop, as you asked earlier. A gent opting out: can every player on Dallas be dropped with a disaster that team has become? Well, so I'm holding on to Amari Cooper.
Well, Travis, this was other breaking news live on our channel. DiNucci benched. Gilbert rushed to compete. So I don't know who either one of these guys.
Cooper Rush, and then Gilbert are going to compete for that job.
So if you have the Pittsburgh defense, make sure you start them this week because they might score 40 fantasy points for you. But honestly, I don't mind it. I personally, if you have to drop them, of course, if this is a redraft league, and if you need to drop them to add someone because of all the buys, then I can understand it. But I will say we don't know how long Andy Dalton will be out. I know he was put on like the COVID reserve list, so not sure how long he will be out, but yeah, I mean, if you need to go elsewhere, we named a couple of wide receivers on this list, or even the running backs. I would definitely go for pretty much all of the running backs on your waiver wire article, Travis, over rostering a Dallas wide receiver, probably.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Let's see. Mike Smith asking what's up with Gaskin, who you would start. So earlier we said Matt Breida, I think, is the best option. And then Gaskin's got the MCL. That's a terrible news for a guy that was looking pretty good as far as a late season stash.
The unfortunate part is that it's probably going to go back to where Breida's going to be between the 20s, and that's the one that you'll want. But then they'll probably go back to putting Jordan Howard in near the goal line. So it's going to be a little frustrating.
Yeah. Keeley04, what's up, gents? Gaskin was out, who I was starting this week. Miami made a trade for DeAndre Washington. He looks like a bruiser when running. Do you think they play him this week? I don't know if he gets in much this week. He might be a guy that they look to kind of replace the role that they had Jordan Howard working earlier in the year, that Johnny kind of mentioned as the goal line guy. But I still do like Breida. I have some hope for Breida to hit some of the upside that we thought he might have when they traded for him. Ayuk at flex or Marvin Jones? I would be starting Ayuk at flex going forward. I think Ayuk is a guy that's kind of just taken over in this offense, especially with Kittle out now. We'll get into who you can use to replace Kittle, but Ayuk is a guy that's going to replace a lot of his target volume in that offense. Yep. Samuel Rojas says choose one at QB, Ryan or Big Ben, Johnny. I feel like the Steelers will just run early and often. That's a concern. Yeah, he could get scripted out of this game. Would that lead you to go with Matt Ryan over Big Ben?
I think that I would still go with Big Ben. I love that, Matt. Like we said the same thing about, Pat Mahomes last week in New York Jets.
A little bit different, but sure.
But it's like, I don't see them, and we haven't fully seen this Pittsburgh offense get on a full run yet, and so I think that this could be one of those, like, let's have some fun, let's chuck the ball around the field. Like I would start Big Ben this week. I wouldn't get too cute with it.
Let's see. Elias Giftopoulos says Tyler Lockett or Allen Robinson, PPR, also Edmonds or whoever you don't pick at flex. Yeah, you're going to flex Edmonds. You try to get Edmonds in your lineup immediately. That guy's going to be RB1 potential this week.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett or Allen Robinson. I'm going to go Tyler Lockett on that offense. Just trust him a whole lot more. I know Tennessee's been giving a lot to the wide receiver, but Seattle is going to go and face Buffalo this week, who has also been giving up a lot to slot wide receivers, and Tyler Lockett could be one of the best slot wide receivers in the league. A gent opting out says, I'm benching Amari Cooper this week in flex and putting in Fournette. Yeah, until we know if any of these quarterbacks can consistently get the ball to the wide receivers, you're benching them all until further notice.
Yep.
And Sawyer Heb says, is Swift still a good start, or is this another Jonathan Taylor situation? Ouch.
No, I do think he's still, I mean, people have bad matchups. Like I like, this is fantasy football. Like, this is gonna happen. Like, people aren't just gonna go out and smash every week. I will say that if you look at all of the stats, it was a very good game for DeAndre Swift as far as like the number of snaps he played, the relative number of targets that he saw comparably to all the other running backs. So I just think it was. Sometimes running backs have a bad matchup, bad game. I think that's what it was for DeAndre Swift. I went back and watched it, and yeah.
All right. Well,
I do want to
tight ends.
Yeah, I think we need to jump in because probably the biggest news of the entire weekend. Maybe I don't know if that's the word to put it, but one of the major injuries for sure, probably the biggest injury, was to tight end George Kittle. Unfortunately, It is looking like it's an 8-week is what they're reporting, an 8-week injury. So we do need to discuss, Travis, on the very real possibility that if it is an 8-week, do you drop George Kittle and stick with us, because we'll give you a couple names that you guys can replace George Kittle with. Of course, you're not going to get the full production that George Kittle gave you because he was one of the, or if not the top tight end in the league. But let's talk about George Kittle real quick and what you would do with him. Would you drop him in your league if you have him? It's
most leagues this year, I think, have the IR spot, so I'm worth putting them in there if you've got the IR spot. But if you're looking to get a win and you need to drop him, I understand that, based on your roster size and what you've got going on. But I think the most direct replacement in my mind for George Kittle is actually my number one tight end on the waiver wire ad this week, and that's Jordan Reed. You look at Jordan Reed, obviously not a direct replacement for George Kittle, but has had success with Kyle Shanahan, not only in San Francisco this year, but with him in Washington when he was the coach there, or was on the staff there as an offensive coordinator. Now, of course, he's got the injury risk himself, but he's going to at least give you the best opportunity to replace the upside that Kittle had. And that's because this offense targets the tight end so much, and he is an athletic tight end himself with great speed. So you like that. And I think Jordan Reed's the number one replacement for me at tight end. But there's a couple good ones out there that I like that we can get into here as well, Johnny. I'm going to just jump to the next one.
right.
Trey Burton, who's rostered in 22% of Yahoo leagues. And you might be thinking, well, Trey Burton, I didn't think that guy was very good. And, well, you and us both. We didn't believe he was very good either. But the thing is Frank Reich continues to use him, and they especially use him in the red zone, Johnny. 2 rushing touchdowns this year. He hasn't had a game with less than 4 targets since being activated a few weeks ago. This is a very desperate landscape, and Burton becomes a very fine ad this week, given his usage lately.
And we know how much Phillip Rivers loves to use the tight end, so there's always that. There's one other tight end we'll talk about here, Eric Ebron. Main reason we bring this up is because he's playing the Dallas Cowboys this week, and so he is only rostered on 45% of Yahoo leagues. So Eric Ebron, another tight end that you can go out and use to try and fill that void for George Kittle there.
Yeah, Eric Ebron, just especially this matchup right here against Dallas, is going to be a great one to target. He hasn't dipped below 40 yards in all. He's had 40 yards or more in all but 2 games this year. In his last 5, he's had 4 or 6 targets he's averaged in his last 5. He's just a part of the offense, and it's not a huge part, but it's not a small part. So you like that. He's a very consistent floor tight end with the opportunity to maybe score each week, which is what you're looking for at tight end at the very minimum.
All right, and then before we jump back into the questions to end our show, I just want to mention a quarterback streamer you've got for this week. I saw on the show doc notes, and I love this pickup. I think it's a sneaky one.
Yeah, this one's not. It's a very under the radar. You probably have a better option because you've been streaming, if you've been streaming already. But Drew Lock has a few nice matchups coming up on the slate here. You just like what you see out of him in this late game. Maybe that'll get his confidence going. His weapons are low-key, pretty talented. A couple talented tight ends. Got Jerry Jeudy there. And then you get the Falcons this week, then the Raiders, and then he's got the Saints a game after a tough matchup. So 3 out of his next 4 really good matchups. I'm not saying Drew Lock's going to be a world beater, but a guy that could get you probably 18 to 22, 23 points per week in standard scoring. And I think that could be something that gets you through the buys.
Absolutely agree. All right, let's jump on over to the last few questions we have here before we sign off. Shall we, Travis?
Yeah, we got 16 watching. Appreciate you all watching here. Go ahead and hit us with a like if you can. Helps us boost the video here. And then if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. If you like the content, we're putting out content every single day. If you subscribe here and let us know, we'll shout you out on the show. I just want to give thanks to everybody. Kalai04 says, thanks, gents. You're welcome. Daniel says, my starting running backs are Jacobs and Edmonds, and my bench is Fournette and Jones. Should I fix my starting running backs? I like Jacobs and Edmonds this week.
Yeah.
I think that's the right play. Fournette is battling a little bit of timeshare there, and then Jones obviously out. So,
yep.
Should I keep Shark, even if that's Ronald Jones? I think that's the right call too. I'm not sure if that's on Aaron or Ronald Jones, but
sure, yeah,
I think that's the right call.
yeah.
Should I keep Shark? Stephen Drakes is asking. Johnny, what do you think about this one?
I think if you have to drop him, I totally understand. Listen, I want to see what this rookie quarterback is about. I don't know. He could come in here and just strictly go to Chark and, target him every single play. I don't know. I need to check in with some beat reporters and see what they're saying about this connection in camp. I definitely am concerned. I'm not starting Chark this week if I can help it. That's for certain. It does suck because it's a nice matchup against Houston on paper, but once again, I'm not sure what this rookie quarterback looks like. But let's remember, like Gardner Minshew was a 6th rounder as well. So and he came in and was like the initial igniter for DJ Chark. So it could happen again. I wouldn't necessarily drop him if I didn't have to. I would like to see what kind of rapport is built before I make any decisions. And, if he's terrible and Minshew is coming back in a couple of weeks, his schedule does open up a little bit. And so I wouldn't mind keeping him on my bench for now if I can.
So we've got another question here. So you think Edmonds over Allen Robinson? Just making sure. Yeah, I would start Chase Edmonds as soon as you can.
Edmonds looks great. He wants to seize this opportunity. No vomit on his sweater already.
Mark, he's ready. Daniel, Mark Andrews, or Ebron?
I'm going to Ebron here. Mark Andrews has struggled, Travis. I'm concerned with Mark Andrews. He's seeing a 60% snap share, which is what he saw last year. The problem is that the Baltimore offense isn't producing like the Baltimore offense it was happening last year. 60% of what they were getting as an offense last year was a lot more than what we're seeing this year, and so they're not getting in the red zone as often. This is a very difficult matchup this week against Indianapolis, whereas we just talked about Ebron is against Dallas. So I would play the matchup here. I would go Ebron over Andrews this week.
Chill Will says, just got home from work. What's up with Green Bay backfield? Aaron Jones probably not going to play. You've got A.J. Dillon out with COVID, and then Jamal Williams out because he was a close contact with Dillon.
Yep.
We're looking at Tyler Irvine and Dexter Williams, and my preferred pickup and start this week, if you had to, would be Tyler Irvine. But remember, that's not a great matchup, and I could see the Packers just trying to pass all over the place instead of just running the ball here.
Mm-hmm.
Shelton Mayfield says, I have Jonah Smith playing the Bears and Dallas Goedert on bye. Should I stay put or put a claim on Ebron? So very similar to the Mark Andrews situation where Jonah had a great start to the year but has kind of cooled off. Would you consider going to get Ebron here? I don't think you're dropping either Goddard or Smith.
Yeah. I
think you stay put with Jonah Smith here. I think you've got to hope that the targets come back a little bit. At least he's had high target games where Andrews has kind of lived off touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I would sit there. Ebron's ceiling seems to be Jonah Smith's floor on most days. So let's just see how that goes. What do I do with Kareem Hunt? This is K Breezy says, my starting running backs are Josh Jacobs and Kareem Hunt. I don't have many running backs. Yeah. If you can package Kareem Hunt to get, a couple startable running backs, I'd say do so. But just don't give up a bunch of value on Kareem Hunt. He's going to be a good play down the stretch for you. Conway says, should I trade McKinnon and Will Fuller for Zeke? I kind of don't mind this deal. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I don't like Zeke at all. The schedule coming up is brutal. That offensive line is in shambles, and that entire offense, heck, that whole entire football team is in shambles. But I actually don't mind this trade, actually. If you need a running back, I think Zeke is going to get you 20 carries, and he's a good enough running back that he should be fairly solid. But he just know that, like, if you trade for him, he's going to be. Oh, Travis just dropped out. You there, Travis? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But just know that if you trade for him, he's going to be one of those guys that you're not going to want to bench because of name value. So there is that, but I actually don't mind it if you have enough wide receivers there. Blue Crew,
Uh,
what's up? Trade feedback, please. PPR. Should I trade away Montgomery for Zeke? My other running backs are Kamara and Melvin Gordon. My wide receiver includes Thielen, Cup, Godwin, T. Higgins, Holiday. 4-4 with a 3-game losing streak. I would not trade away. I think Monty has a better schedule moving forward than Zeke does, and
you probably get more value for Zeke too. Hopefully, maybe you can get some name value out of Zeke too. So try and move Zeke and upgrade.
no,
there.
he would be getting Zeke. He would be trading.
Oh.
He would be trading away Montgomery. But it's also a PPR, and Monty has been like that's been where he's been the best. Has been catching those check down passes. So I wouldn't do this.
It's hard because I think that if they can get Dalton back healthy, that this offense can be somewhat salvageable for fantasy. I just don't know when that's going to be. So that's hard to speculate on. Let's see. We got Chill Will. Thanks for the input. You're welcome. Mikey McGee, season-long fantasy question. Should I trade Lockett and Herbert? I already have Brady for Diggs and Dobbins. I don't really like this deal. I don't see that you're getting that much better. Maybe the Dobbins if you like the upside of getting Dobbins. But I like Lockett to be just as powerful week to week as Diggs, and I love Herbert right now. If you look over the last 4 weeks, Herbert's been the QB3, second to only Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes, and that's with a bye.
Wait, you wouldn't do this deal?
You're going to trade Lockett and Herbert away to get Diggs and Dobbins? No,
yeah, if I have Brady, if you have Tom Brady, why wouldn't you do that? You don't need Herbert if you have Tom Brady.
Well, I mean,
I think Diggs and Lockett are pretty tied for rest of season, and I rather have Dobbins. The way it's shaping up right now, Dobbins
I would
could
rather
have a
trade away Brady than Herbert.
See if you can counter with that. You might be able to counter with that, but
I think that's my point. Is that I really like what Herbert's doing, and Herbert is showing to be pretty special, especially for fantasy, where Brady's shown us more floor games against tough defenses and in cold weather. So.
Sure. All right.
Is it worth keeping Godwin or AB if AB is going to take over? I mean, I like Godwin still. I think his value hurts a little bit, but we haven't seen them all together on the field. Just depends on what you need. Like if you've got to get out of Godwin to go try and get some wins, I understand that too. So
yeah.
Who do I drop for Stafford? Burrow on bye, Goddard, Latavius Murray, Alexander Madison. I have Cook, Moss, Hasty, or I can wait and see if Godwin is ruled out. Maybe put him in the IR and take whoever's available. You could probably drop Latavius Murray, I think.
Yeah.
I would say Madison, but since you have Cook, that's a little bit valuable to you. I think Latavius Murray is the guy you'd be willing to give up here for Stafford.
Yeah.
Is Calvin Ridley going to play this week? I don't think so. I think he's going to miss this week, maybe a couple more.
Yeah. I have Lamar, Eckler, Drake, Gibson, Ridley, McLaurin, Fuller, and Evan Ingram because Kittle is hurt. Sounds like a lot of injured players there.
Yeah, you've got Eckler and Drake. It's not looking great.
And Ridley.
And
Kittle. I'm glad he's telling us all these injured players he has because we need to get out. Look, he's got Lamar. We need to. No, I'm just messing with you.
We've got 21 of you watching. We appreciate you guys watching this stream. This is the Waiver Wire stream. Remember that article is up on the fantasywhispers.com. But if you guys, 10 of you gave us likes, if the other 12 could give us likes, get that number up, we'd really appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We try to put out content each and every day, so you'll be able to get some of that content if you go and subscribe to the channel. We'll work through the last bit of these questions, and then we can probably head out for the day.
Yep.
I accepted a trade Jacobs for Connor. Full PPR thoughts. You got James Connor?
I think you traded away.
I accepted a trade Jacobs for James Conner. Yeah, I would have rather had James Conner too. I think Jacobs is kind of stuck in a game script dependent role here.
And their schedule is brutal coming up too.
Mikey McGee says, thank you, Big Travie. Johnny Came Time, thanks for the feedback. Oh, yeah, anytime. Appreciate
you, man. Appreciate you.
Harry Hippo says, in a standard league, should I trade Jonah Smith and Marquise Brown for Myles Gaskin? The reason I want to trade for him is because I have Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, and Jonathan Taylor, and I'm worried about Taylor. Yeah, well, you can't be traded for Myles Gaskin. I don't know if you saw the news, but he's got a 3-week MCL sprain.
If
so
if he didn't, I would have said yes. I would do this deal, but no, he's got he will be out 3 weeks with an MCL sprain, so don't want to do that.
Should I try to trade now for Kareem Hunt before Nick Chubb comes back in Week 10?
Yeah, I would.
I don't mind moving for Kareem Hunt. I think that's a good move. Will McKinnon do good this week, says Conway. I think so. I think if he's given the opportunity, Green Bay is a great defense to target. So
I actually really like McKinnon this week.
Yeah, I think it's a good play. Conway says, once Eckler, the PPR god, is back, I'll be good with Ridley. Also, I'm 5-3.
Moving forward, you're good. If you're with the record of 5-3, you'll be all right. You'll be able to make the playoffs. As of right now, it's just brutal because you have a lot of injuries. All right.
Daniel says, should I trade Jacobs to get some value for him? If you can get a good deal for Jacobs, I'm hesitant to say trade any RB1 this year, at least RB1 usage because of COVID and everything. But if you can get another running back one in return and maybe another piece because people like Jacobs, then I would go ahead and do that.
Yeah. All right, that does it, Whisper Nation, for this waiver wire episode. Make sure if you are new to our channel to please hit that subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified anytime we go live like this, so you can jump on, chat with us, ask us questions. We love it. We also go live on Sundays 90 minutes before kickoff so we can get you all set for the day, get you that W. For Big Travie, find him on Twitter at Big Travie TFW. I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks. Till next time, Whisper Nation, we're out. Peace.
Peace. Get out and vote.
Yes.